Hello and welcome to Rediscovering America. I'm your host, Paula Johnston. Today we will concentrate on horses of the West. Horses inspired me to leave England to come to America at 19 years of age. I grew up reading about a phantom horse coming home to the mystical Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. After watching cowboy movies, I expected to see horses tied to hitching posts all around town. Horses have played an important part in the building of the West, as they have all over the world, helping us mere mortals in so many ways. Now here I am, very close to Bonanza country, in the Sierra Nevada foothills. Here in Auburn, deep in the heart of the gold country, is the home of the endurance capital of the world. This title underscores the two epic races held here every year during the height of the intense summer heat. The Western States 100-mile endurance run, in which hundreds of people race from Squaw Valley to Auburn, and the Tevis Cup, which is the same course tackled by horse and rider.
Yes,
First organized by a devoted High Sierra horseman, Wendell Roby of Auburn, and held annually since 1955. This race is the oldest modern-day endurance ride, whose title is well earned, due to the naturally extreme conditions competitors must face. Most people doubted that a horse could perform such a feat in one day. The trail that went from Tahoe to Auburn was abundant with risk, rugged and challenging to both horse and rider. Some may call it grueling. Wendell and a few of his friends proved it could be done in August of 1955. After that, he continued to hold the ride annually and organized the Western States Trail Foundation to preserve the 100-mile trail and the ride. He spent the last few years of his life in search of a suitable equestrian staging area in the Tahoe region. He was very concerned about the future conflicts between growth and access to the beautiful High Sierra trails. He also wanted to provide a long-term starting location for the Tevis ride.
We didn't know when Wendell did this. Not many people ever thought about riding a horse 100
you knew
miles.
Wendell?
20, yes.
You knew Wendell?
Yes.
And you started it in this...
I started being involved in 61, around 61.
Okay.
So I've got, 50-something years, and I had to laugh at the paper because it said some volunteers have even been around for 30 years. And being the type of an individual I am, which we won't put on film, I said, wait a minute, what about of us that have been around 50-plus years? It's addictive if you're participating. Mm-hmm. Well, endurance is, addictive, any kind of an endurance event. And with the history of the ride, it started a lot of research what horses could and couldn't do, what the humans could and couldn't do. And of course, then the run became an offshoot, and look at that done, because that's more of John Q. Citizen can go out and run. Very few people want to own and take care of horses and ride horses. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a dangerous sport, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it has its issues because you crash and burn on semi-regular basis.
Yes, yes.
So it was interesting. So back in the beginning, there was so much negativity from the animal rights people. A lot of them, they'd have people, Humane Society, they'd have people watching, and they'd have people. And of course, in those days, you didn't know a lot of the things we know now about hydration and electrolytes and all of that type of a thing.
Right.
So there's the positive end.
Okay.
Of the endurance riding is what we've
the
learned and what we've done with the horses and what we can breed into the horses and utilizing, more water. You can't put water on there this or there that. That's not true. You have to know your animal and go from there. So that's part of the positivity. Mm-hmm. The negativity, to me, this is my opinion. In the old days, we went out to ride, to have fun, to test ourselves and our animals and to make sure that we saw the beauty of what was available by going out into the country. This trail is so unique, and I don't think a lot of people realize how unique it is. It's a point to point. This ride, you start at one place, you finish at another. Nowadays, most of them are loops.
Yeah.
When we started, we rode in Levi's and cowboy boots. We rode McClellan saddles or Western saddles or English saddles. We didn't have the fancy equipment. There wasn't the biothanes and all the good stuff like that. We didn't even have water bottles. All you had was your Sierra cup, and you drank out of the creeks. And if it was a dry year, you were in trouble. So we started taking, when they came out with plastic bottles for your dish soaps and stuff like that, we started converting them into water bottles. Oh my God. And then from there, an industry has spawned, not just from the horses, but from the horses and the runners and everything else. Yes. We had all of these trails almost entirely to ourselves.
Oh, nice. How do you feel about all the...
Don't ask.
Okay.
I feel that we all need to share, and I feel that everybody should have a passion for this historic, the Tevis Trail. Yeah, that's I think that's critical. But horses and bicycles are never going to be a match. So how do we solve that? I don't have an answer.
There seems to be a growing conflict between cyclists who think they should be allowed to use the horse trails and the horse enthusiasts who recognize that this could mean problems. More accidents and more degradation of the trail. The Sierra Nevada is vast. Perhaps the cyclists can find them a Wendell Roby equivalent to blaze a bike trail through the mountains. Wendell T. Roby died on October the 31st, 1984, still wearing his Lions Club vest. 6 years later, in 1990, the Roby Foundation purchased 160 acres between Lake Tahoe and Truckee to fulfill Wendell's vision. Since then, the foundation has invested over $400,000 in improvements, including connecting trails, vaulted toilets, and a water system for the horses. It takes time and money to clear the arena and roads, as well as to repair gates and signs that have succumbed to the elements. Roby Equestrian Park is generally open from early July through mid-September, depending upon weather conditions. Reservations by individuals and organized groups are always welcome. During the park season, the foundation hosts various events, including the start of the Western States Trail Ride. These endurance events continue to evolve. Every year, new people join the core group of volunteers and supporters who have been involved for many years, devoting hours upon hours of their free time. At the Finish Line Command Center, there is a lot of anxious waiting and updating of info as it becomes available.
I know it does. I mean, you should have
What horses are waiting for the trail for horses that have been pulled.
Copy that.
I copy them down and report them to the control.
The horses made it to...
What's your name? Carly Dravon.
Then there is the brand new generation who grow up with Tevis dreams and aspirations as part of their DNA.
First member of the Tevis family? Huh?
These events have a way of bringing out the best in the community.
There was a spotter there, but nobody gave us times.
The trails are of vital importance to this area, requiring a joint effort with the leaders of the community and the event organizers to protect and preserve the environment for the health and safety and enjoyment of all.
I'm going to read off their names, and I want you each to raise your hand. They each get a certificate, and then
The excitement an event brings to a community is as important as the opportunities for commerce. which is very important to a tiny town like Forest Hill, California. Although I have a feeling that this Forest Hill bride was not aware that her wedding day would coincide with this international event.
I'm here this morning at the iconic Mountain Quarries Railroad Bridge, and with me today is Supervisor Jennifer Montgomery, and she is responsible for the 5th district in the county. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. The 5th District runs here, Auburn, all the way up to Lake Tahoe.
Oh, that far. That's quite an area. Well, thank you for being here with us today. And the truth of the matter is this is our second interview. I first interviewed Jennifer at the Tevis Cup, which is one of the famous endurance events that we have here in Auburn. And she was very kind to give me an interview at the end of a long and busy day. And then I had turned my camera off. So here we are again.
Well, I live in the wildland-urban interface, and so my priorities really are protect the natural resources that we have here at the county. And that means not just the water that we see here at the Mountain Quarries Railroad Bridge and through the canyons, but the watersheds that these come from, the forests, the upland meadows, the recreational assets that really brought people to Placer County originally for extractive purposes, but now keep us here because we so love the environment we find ourselves in.
What is your connection with the Tevis Cup? Do you have anything specific that you're involved with that?
Well, I volunteer, actually. I work with the Native Sons of the Golden West at the Squaw Valley checkpoint, which is the first sort of official checkpoint for the Tevis Cup. We get up very, very early on Saturday morning, and we drive to the top of Squaw Valley to high camp there, and we help the riders as they come through. They water their horses, they get off, they stretch a little bit after the first bit of the ride. We hold their horses for them while they go take care of their own personal needs, and just really there to help. But I was drawn into the Tevis Cup initially when I first became county supervisor. 98 miles of the Tevis Cup was within the 5th district. Now, because of redistricting, it's the full 100 miles, which is pretty exciting. But was drawn in by a participant who said, "You're the county supervisor. You need to be part of this and come be part of this historic event." And I'm absolutely thrilled that I was. It's a trail that is a trail that horses, people on foot, bike riders, all kinds of people use the trail. It's an incredible asset to our community and one that we really need to protect.
Yes, absolutely. And what are the challenges facing the endurance events or the participants?
Well, there are always the normal sort of challenges one expects with an event of this kind of magnitude. There's permitting. There's just the basic economics of putting it together.
What kind of permitting? Excuse my interruption.
Well, there's a number of different permits. It crosses Highway 49 on occasion, so there's some permitting that actually is required for the CHP for crossing a California state highway. It crosses 89 up in the Tahoe area near Squaw Valley. So there's some permitting to do with state parks, with CHP and Caltrans for the highways. There's county permits. There's just a lot of paperwork involved, and every year each of those costs goes up a little bit, so it makes it more challenging just to put the race on financially.
Yeah, who foots the bill for the races?
The Western States, I can say this. The Western States Trail Foundation is the group that organizes the Tevis race. The idea is entrance fees pay for all those costs, but it is challenging, and there's only a certain amount you can raise entrance fees and still have people be able to participate. And so it's a fine line that entity walks in putting the event on.
Now, I know that the Western States 100 run, the human run, is a lottery system. How do they choose them for the Tevis horse ride? Is it the same?
For the Tevis ride, you have to have participated in a number of endurance races already. You and your mount have to have participated in a number of 50-mile and I believe one 100-mile race. I'm not on the Western States Trail Foundation board, and I'm not that keyed into the actual specifics, but there are minimum requirements. There are, as you know, checkpoints, veterinary checkpoints throughout the race to make sure that people's mounts are well cared for and still in good health, because The animals are expensive, the race is expensive, people love their mounts, and
Sure.
they don't want to hurt them. They want to make sure they're fine at the end of the
Right.
race.
And that is a remarkable aspect, I believe, of the race. I've been at the vet checks and seen the what they put them through, their tests to make sure that they are all right. Now, what do you most want people to know about how to join you in preserving, protecting, restoring, and respecting Placer County?
Well, that's a great question. And I think probably that the most important thing for members of the community to do, whether they're community members here in Auburn or in Forest Hill or Iowa Hill or up in the Tahoe area, is to become involved in their local organizations that monitor and participate in events within our wildland-urban interface, and to make sure that they educate themselves on who they elect at all levels of government, to make sure that if they value what we have now, they elect people who will continue to protect what we have, and in fact will add to that. Supervisor Holmes and City Councilman Holmes and I have been working together here in the Auburn State Recreation Area to identify long-term contracts and long-term funding to help keep this resource, this asset, open. And while we do have some long-term agreements, the dollars are reauthorized every year by Congress. So that's going to continue to be a battle. We need to make sure that those dollars that go to California state parks are going to continue to come to this area to make sure that we have rangers, that we have fire protection, that we have trash pickup, that we have just very, very basic needs met. There's other issues that are facing the canyon and facing the trail. The trail, I know the Western States Trail Foundation is working to try to get a National Historic Trail designation. That's been a long-term project of theirs.
Gosh, I'm surprised it isn't already.
I'm surprised it isn't as well, because it seems to really fall into the absolute purpose and the intent behind the National Historic Trails legislation, which is federal law that was designed to protect trails that have a historic and prehistoric connection to our nation. The Tavis Cup Trail, the Western States Trail, long before it was the Tavis Trail, long before it was the Western States Trail, was a natural path that the local Native peoples used to cross the Sierra. So it has that historic and that prehistoric, as we call it, history that just seems like it would be a no-brainer for that National Historic Trails designation, but we're having problems getting there.
Is there anything the community members can do that would ensure that that became the case?
Yeah, absolutely. To get a National Historic Trails designation, we need to show, one, that there's community support for it, which really I think we're working diligently to do that. But we also need federal support. It's a federal designation. It's not a state designation. It's not a local designation. So contacting our two senators, our two state senators, and our local congressman. Soon we'll have two different congressmen representing the Auburn area. Congressman McClintock will continue to represent with the new redistricting, and my guess is probably Doug LaMalfa will be our new senator who will represent sort of the northern part of Auburn. And contacting those gentlemen and letting them know that it's important to us will be a huge, huge help in the effort.
Back to the 2012 Tevis Cup finish line, word is that the winners are due in.
Is our makeshift finish line.
There was not much light at the finish line. Power outlets were in short supply. Not a current bush in sight.
They can't see what?
They can't see what they're running.
Oh, is that going to stay there when the horses come in there?
That Jim, you mean?
Rider number 5.
I wasn't alone, expecting an exciting spectacle at the finish line.
Right there. No.
Horses flying through, nostrils flaring to get there first.
There you go.
Oh, you guys.
By half the horse. You could have leaned forward like you were going real fast.
This is so anticlimactic. Woo!
Rather, Garrett Ford and his wife Lisa allowed their tired horses to stroll amicably across the line. A partnership to the finish.
Good morning. This is Paula Johnston with Auburn Community Television Station, Channel 20 on Wave Cable System. Today I'm out here at the Auburn Fairgrounds, and today is the Hagen Cup competition, which is the cup that goes to the finalists of the top 10 finishers whose horse is in the best condition and deemed ready to carry on for even more than the original 100 miles. So stick with us and we will go and check out who's going to win this incredible honor. Crowds are loving this one.
Most impressive is the footwear available for the endurance horses. These things are known as easy boots and are a blessing for all concerned. I asked competitor Michael Raposelli to show and tell.
You also try to carry an easy boot, and an easy boot.
Is that what's over here?
Yeah, that's what's in this pouch. And what that is if you lose a shoe, you can stick an easy boot on there, and you can go on, hopefully till the next vet check, and then have a shoe or put a new shoe on.
As with most things involving animals, there is controversy. There are some who believe that this race is cruel to the horses. Just prior to the start of the 2012 Tevis, I asked a veteran of the Western States events what he thought about this issue.
Stan, but what are your views on that?
If a horse isn't trained properly, it's overweight, it's not conditioned, sure it is cruel. Right. Same with the person. If somebody, your parents or some, forest said you gotta go over the Sierras, and if you're not prepared, it can be really harmful or deadly. But horses that are trained properly, that are given good food, and drink well and all that, have the right equipment, saddle, whatever, and are trained properly, and the rider knows what they're doing, horses love it. Horses enjoy getting out on the trail. They love being with other horses, and it becomes like a lifestyle, even for the animals. They love it. They can't wait to go out for another ride. I've seen.
The Tevis is an event that is unparalleled in their sport, in its magnitude and scope. There's really nothing quite like it. The logistical detail, planning, the numbers of volunteers, it's unique. But we're here for the trail. We're all here for the trail and the challenge. 100 miles. Possibly the toughest 100 miles in the world. Altitude, endless rocks, dusts that choke you forever, canyons with no bottoms and no tops, rivers to cross, bridges to go over, and on and on and on. Heat, humidity, to accept the challenge to be here and to start. The amount of training and preparation that goes into just being here, I congratulate you. For those of you who finish, this is an accomplishment you will remember your lives. For those who finish top 10, we are talking an accomplishment that is revered across the country in this sport. To win the Hagen Cup is a level of equine athletic superiority that is recognized around the world. The winner of the 2012 Hagen Cup is Ferrara. Oh my God! First off, my crew, they were amazing all through the day, and we certainly couldn't have done it without you guys. I want to thank Garrett Ford for his belief that we could get to this level and motivating me to train my horse as much. And I say my horse, but really I ultimately have to thank Kevin Myers for allowing me to ride with amazing creature.
Tevis Cup to our first horse today, and that was ridden by Garrett Ford, and the horse's name is Fury.
Okay, fingers down in front.
Well, thank you for joining us today at Rediscovering the Gold Country. That culminates our ride along the Tevis Cup Trail. I hope you'll join us again. Bye for now.